Hi everyone, welcome to Learn Science with Divya. Today we are going to start a chapter Life Processes. So let's start the chapter. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one question. What makes something alive? If you're asked to differentiate between what is living and what is non-living, how would you do it? Let me guess. You would say living things eat, move, breathe, right? Then what about plants? Have you ever seen them breathing or moving? No? So using visible movement as the defining characteristic of life is not enough. We cannot say that if something moves is only living and if something is not moving or we are not able to see it moving is not living, right? So some movements are invisible to the naked eyes, like movements of molecules. We know there are invisible movements of molecules, right? Are these movements necessary for life? If I ask you this question, what will be your answer? Yes. These movements are necessary for life. And why are these molecular movements needed for life? Let's take an example of viruses. So viruses do not show any molecular movement. They do not have any molecular movement in them until they enter some living cells. Okay, and you know there's a controversy about whether they are truly alive or not. So we can say that molecular movements are essential to differentiate if something is living or non-living. Okay, now we all know living organisms have a well-organized structure. We know tissues have cells and cells have smaller components, right? And tissue also forms organ and then organ system is formed. So every living organism has cell or tissue or organ or an organ system. But due to some environmental factors, this well organized structure or order is likely to keep breaking down over time. So we need a system or we need some processes to maintain this well organized structure. Okay, so living creatures must keep repairing and maintaining their structures. For our survival, we need to keep repairing and maintaining our structures. Okay, and how we do it, how our body do it, with the help of some life processes. So the processes which together perform this maintenance job are life processes. I hope this is clear to you all. Now here is the definition of life processes. So life processes are the basic functions that are essential for the survival of living organisms. So we can say that we cannot survive without these life processes. Now there are mainly 4 basic life processes. So let's write them down. First one is nutrition. Second one is respiration. Third is transportation and fourth one is excretion. Okay, nutrition is what? Food. Respiration provide us energy. Transportation helps in moving things and excretion helps in removing wastes, right? First we need food for energy. Then the food is broken down to release energy, because our body cannot utilize this food, so it needs to be broken down first and then it provides us energy. Third is transportation. So this energy, the energy provided by respiration along with oxygen, food and other materials, is carried to all the parts of our body. And final is excretion. So the waste that our body doesn't need is removed. So these are 4 basic life processes. Okay. Now you know there are 2 types of organisms: single-celled or unicellular and multicellular. Multicellular means having more than one cell. Okay, let's talk about single-celled or unicellular organisms. They do not have any specific organ. Okay, for taking in food, exchange of gases or removal of waste. Why? Because their entire surface is in contact with the environment, right? So they use simple diffusion process. They do not need these complicated processes like excretion, digestion. But in multicellular organisms, all the cells may not be in direct contact with the surrounding environment. Thus, simple diffusion will not meet the requirements of all the cells. And we know that multicellular organisms have specialized organ. So they use all these life processes. If the question comes in your exams like why single-celled or unicellular organisms uses simple diffusion, or what type of process is used by single-celled or unicellular organisms to survive, for their survival. Now let's discuss our first life process, that is nutrition. So what is nutrition? It is the process by which living organisms take in food and use it. Why use it? To get energy for all life activities. So there are 2 types of nutrition. First one is autotrophic nutrition and second is heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition occurs in organisms like green plants that prepare their own food using sunlight as a source of energy, carbon dioxide and water through a process known as photosynthesis that we are going to discuss in our next video. And heterotrophic nutrition occurs in organisms like humans, animals and fungi that depend totally on other organisms for food. Like we totally depend on autotrophs or green plants. And heterotrophic nutrition is further divided into 3 parts: holozoic nutrition, saprophytic nutrition and parasitic nutrition. So in humans, holozoic nutrition is present. In fungi, saprophytic nutrition is present, and in tapeworms, lice, parasitic nutrition is present. So we are going to discuss them in detail in our next video. So that's all for today. I hope you liked this video.